Welcome to Safety Minute. I'm Officer Chris Bionis with the Plano Police Department's Crime Prevention Unit, where we provide education to increase the safety for people and their property. Imagine you're having a wonderful day, and then you hear this. Your ability to respond immediately and decisively can determine whether you live or die. In this extended Safety Minute session, we'll be discussing surviving an active shooter event. Today we'll use the term active shooter because it is the one most people are familiar with. A more accurate term would be active threat, because people commit mass murder with other weapons than firearms. In an active shooter event, the best thing we could do to stop the killing is to get police on scene. The challenge is that on average it takes police 3 minutes to arrive and additional several minutes to locate and stop the shooter. This means that for at least the first several minutes of an attack, you will most likely be on your own. Extensive research of active shooter events shows that many times the attack was stopped because potential victims took action to stop the shooter directly or made it difficult for the shooter to find targets. Our format will be as follows. First, we will discuss having a survivor mindset. Then we'll discuss the importance of situational awareness. And lastly, we'll discuss 3 crucial strategies to follow in the event of an active shooter. Okay, survivor mindset. A survivor mindset is that mental toughness that provides you with the determination to live. And it's one of the first things we were taught in the police academy. It was over 21 years ago, but I never forgot it. And it was simply this: I am going home tonight. If you have something better you say to yourself, keep yours. If you have nothing at all, adopt this one or adapt it to your liking. But have something you say to yourself that increases your will to survive. A survivor mindset might be a partial explanation of how some people sustain multiple shots and live while others receive superficial, non-life-threatening injuries but die. It reminds me of Noelle Jones, the 15-year-old young woman who was shot multiple times at Italy High School in Texas by a classmate. Off-duty Dallas Fire Rescue Captain Charles Hiles is credited in helping save Noelle's life after the shooting. She begged him, "I don't want to die. Don't let me die." Captain Hiles, who is a father of 3, described Noelle as the strongest little girl I've ever met. He added, 29 years of doing this, and of all the patients, she might have been the toughest. I have no doubt that Noelle's will to live helped her to survive, and yours can do the same for you. Have a survivor mindset. Situational awareness in this context is your ability to be aware of what's happening in your vicinity and pre-planning decisions you will make if faced with an active shooter event. This includes being aware of exits and places that you could hide or use for cover. And let's talk about the difference between concealment and cover. Concealment is something that hides you from view, but is not capable of stopping bullets. Cover consists of thick, bulky material that would stop a bullet. Example of cover includes a concrete wall, a telephone pole, or engine block. The most common sign of an active shooter event is gunfire. It sounds obvious, but our brains can play tricks on us and try to describe unusual events as normal at first. Many people are not accustomed to hearing gunfire on a regular basis. So when they do, their brains will try to explain it as something it's more familiar with, such as fireworks. This is known as the normalcy bias. Numerous people at active shooter events stated they first thought what they were hearing was fireworks. To help you avoid this normalcy bias, consider, have you ever seen a fireworks show inside a venue such as a company or school or place of worship? I'm guessing you responded no. With that in mind, and knowing that gunfire poses a direct threat on your survival, doesn't it make sense to treat anything that sounds like gunfire as gunfire and take immediate action? True, you might end up embarrassed if the sound ends up being firecrackers, but if the sound is actually gunfire, it could save your life and the lives of others. I like the Homeland Security's 3 strategies in the event of an active shooter because they're easy to remember. They are run, hide, and fight. The Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Alert Center teaches a similar model: avoid, deny, and defend. These models are similar in their objectives, and for our purposes today, we will use run, hide, fight for our terminology. Our first strategy, run. Question: how far do you run? Right, as far as it takes. You are specifically running out of the kill zone. You are running until you are safe. Question: if you had the option between running and hiding, which would be better? Yes, running. If you could run, then run. It's only when you cannot run that you would utilize the second strategy, hide. But let me emphasize this. You are not hiding and hoping. You are doing something much better. You are hiding and preparing. Preparing for what? Yes, in the event the active shooter finds you and tries to get in. So you are locking doors and or barricading the doors by pushing heavy objects in front of them. You are silencing your cell phone, and you are arming yourself with personal weapons, or if you have none, you are improvising weapons. Question: why are we preparing weapons? Right, in the event he breaches the door and you have to employ your last resort strategy and fight. If the shooter gains access to your location, you must defend yourself. Question: if you have to fight, what level of effort are you putting in? Yes, you are fighting as if your life depends on it, because it does. Even though the shooter has a gun and you do not, does not mean you are defenseless. In many active shooter events, people on the scene were able to subdue the attacker and save their own lives. The shooter most likely has superior firepower, but you will most likely have superior numbers. Use them. Plan with your group to swarm the shooter with as many people as possible as soon as he enters the room. Remember, it is likely that the shooter will have multiple weapons. So if your group is holding him down, awaiting law enforcement, remember to keep his hands away from his body so he's not able to access additional weapons. When law enforcement arrives, do not jump up and let him go. Continue restraining him until arriving officers get him securely in handcuffs. Question: suppose an active shooter walks through a door that's the only exit and starts laying down rounds in the room. There's no place to hide, and fighting does not seem to be smart. Can you think of anything else you could do? That's right, play dead. The first student who walked out of Sandy Hook Elementary was a first-grade little girl who was covered in blood. She told her mom, "I'm okay, but all my friends are dead." She was the only one in her classroom who survived, and she survived by playing dead. Remember, as soon as you can safely do so, call 911. When police arrive on scene to an active shooter, what's our primary objective? Yes, our most important objective is to stop the killing. So keep in mind that in an active shooter event, police officers will be running past people who are injured because they need to stop the killing. Once the threat is neutralized, then they can help the wounded. And lastly, escort people from the building. Help police officers quickly identify you as a non-threat by showing the palms of your hands, fingers spread. Do not move, or if you have to move, move slowly. Comply immediately with any commands you are given. You may be handcuffed while the situation is being figured out. This is not the time to argue with the police. This is a time to follow directions immediately. If you can, Quickly pass on any information to the whereabouts of the shooter. If you're leaving a secure area, perhaps pass on an access key card so officers will be able to enter the location. In summary, remember, develop your survivor mindset. Use your situational awareness to be aware of exits and places you can use as concealment and, even better, cover. If you hear something that sounds like gunfire, treat it as gunfire and respond immediately. If at all possible, run. If you cannot run, then hide. And while hiding, prepare for in case the shooter enters your location, and then fight.